UFC 327. Man, this was fun. I watched the whole main card. So I did not see the preliminary fights, and I know we're going to talk about some Aaron Pico because I heard a lot of good things about that. But this main card was a lot of fun for the most part, and I would say we'll talk about that as this goes on. There were some surprises, and sometimes even I would say the one negative I'd have about the main card was also a surprise, like not the fight I thought it would have been. But let's talk about these prelims before we get into it.
We could honestly go through every fight, but we don't have that kind of time. So we're just we'll chug through some of these prelims. Kelvin Gastelum versus Vicente Luque. Luque got a round 1 knockdown and then locked on an anaconda choke. Gastelum just fall on hard times. I actually favored him over Luque in this fight, but Luque hanging in there, just a couple of old guys going at it. Tatiana Suarez versus Lupi Godinez. Suarez got a round 2 rear naked choke. She got knocked down early in the fight by Lupi, and then she fought her way back and got on top and was dominant after that. So good to see her come back from a little bit of struggle. She's probably like 1 or 2 fights away from a title shot again, depending on who's the champ at the time. And then Kevin Holland versus Randy Brown. That was a fun fight. Holland got a decision. He was super close to locking in an anaconda choke on Randy Brown, but Randy's a great jiu-jitsu brown belt as well, and he couldn't lock it in. But on the feet, Kevin was looking, sometimes he looks like the Kevin Holland from like 2020, and sometimes he looks like someone who has no idea that he's in an organized sport of fighting at all. But this is one of his great performances, so I always love when he's winning. So, and then Patricio Pitbull versus Aaron Pico, the Bellator guys. Pico got a decision win, but it was a masterful performance. It was exactly what we always heard that Aaron Pico could be. His boxing was tremendous. He mixed in some good takedowns. He had Pitbull hurt multiple times, but he didn't get overly aggressive because, Pitbull, he's durable, so he's good at weathering those shots, and then he'll come back with stuff. And Pico didn't fight like gun shy, like he wasn't afraid to engage. He got hit in the fight, but it was with some good shots too, but nothing that put him down. He stayed in there, good boxing, was confident, and fought really intelligent, and it was very good to see. Brought me a lot of joy. So my cat's wants to be a star. But I'm not sure what's next for him, but he's like 29, so he's probably got to get going, get fighting some of these higher end guys, because he was looking good against Lerone Murphy before he got caught with that spinning elbow. So
got to be a little
ready for top 10. But let's get into some of the highlights of this card here. Starting off the main event here, Cub Swanson versus Nate Landwehr. Speaking of performances.
Yeah, it's funny. I have some notes about this. I'm not even going to have to look at this because this was a dynamic Cub Swanson. This was Cub. It surprised me. Like, I was not surprised that Cub Swanson won this. Like, I thought Cub might weather the storm. This would be a brawl of anything back and forth. But man, and this is I feel like I don't want to disrespect Nate, but on this particular night, Cub just looked like the superior MMA fighter. Almost like Nate was expecting what we were all expecting. Like, oh, he's going to come out brawl. And Cub says, no, I'm going to put on a performance. But, I'm going to use all my tools, and then it's going to look good when I do it, too, because I'm not going to be gun-shy about this either. And he wasn't. Like, he mixed everything up, but, man, he could take it down. He could leg kick. He was throwing great, striking. He was moving in and out. He picked his shots great. And in the end, I thought also great stoppage. I think, was this Herb Dean, actually, too? I don't remember, but.
Yeah, I think it was Herb.
Yeah, but so it was – I remember thinking, too, because, like, it was one of those situations, like almost you see in a boxing match, where Nate was really just taking too much punishment, but he wasn't, down. He was still on his feet, but the ref was like, "Nah, that's enough."
It was clear that he was not coming back to win. Yeah.
No, not at all. Yeah. So I'll let you talk about this some more, but yeah, excellent performance by Cub Swanson as well.
Yeah, Cub got a round 1 TKO, but like you said, he just dominated from the start of the fight. Like, Nate really could never get Cub's respect to Cub was doing whatever he wanted in the fight. So you could tell he was really jazzed up and emotional. He had his whole family there, and, he's the last WEC guy. So in these times in the UFC, we're talking about how this is a very one of the worst eras of UFC. You know, we're constantly complaining, although we got a tremendous card here. But the reason we complain about those things is when you look back at the older times, a la, you know, WEC with Cowboy and Joe Lozon and Cub and all of them and Poirier, you know, just think of all the legends that came out of there. And for Cub to be the last guy, he sent the WEC out on a high note. Probably, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, maybe the best retirement performance of all time. I mean, unless you want to count GSP knocking out or choking out Bisping or whatever. But off the top of my head, best. I mean, he looked like he was 20 years younger. He's about 40 years old now. So it's like just absolutely buzzing for him. What a great way to start off the card.
If I didn't know he was 40 years old and I didn't know how many fights he had, I would probably almost be thinking, like, why are you retiring?
Yeah.
Like, I get why he's retiring still, but that's how good that performance was. Normally I'd tell you about a fight next, possibly. Obviously, he's retiring, so we're not doing that. But I just want to take this opportunity. We will be talking more about Cub Swanson on our Patreon today, and we'll talk about some of our favorite Cub Swanson fights, but this will be one of them. It's just excellent. This is such an excellent performance. And like you said, it really started off this main card right.
Yeah. So after that, we took a nosedive. Dominick Reyes versus Johnny Walker gave us a disappointing fight.
Yeah, so it's funny because I had got in late. I'm in the process of switching homes and everything. So I was busy. We're finishing that up. And so I got it late just in time for the main card. I see that awesome Cub Swanson fight. And I'm like, hell yeah. And then like Dominick Reyes and Johnny Walker, I'm thinking, well, this is going to be a quick knockout. Someone's going out. And I'm kind of trying to do some stuff for the podcast on the wrestling end too. And I'm going back and forth. And I'm like, this fight sucks. Like, is it me? Am I not alert enough? I'm trying to pay attention. I'm just getting bored. And yeah, I just was not interested enough. I will say that Reyes felt like Johnny Walker wasn't engaging enough with him to make an interesting fight. That's one way to look at it. I don't know. I think Dominick Reyes was a little gun shy himself. He's been knocked out plenty of times. They both have. And I think you said in our group chat that night, both guys are a little gun shy after being brutal knockouts. Hey, all I could say is it was a surprise and it was the one bad fight of the night. And hey, to a guy I normally like, congratulations, Dominick Reyes. You at least got a win back.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Although I did think that Johnny Walker should have won the fight. Reyes got a split decision. Nobody got robbed, though, because the fight was so bad and so close. Yeah, the fans got robbed. Not a lot to add. It was like I said in the group chat, is two dudes that are afraid to get knocked out now. So you can cloak it in the guise of, you know, trying to be more intelligent or whatever, but you can't change your whole style if that's, you know, if you're going from that to just the spectrum is too wide there, you know, you got to tighten it up a little bit. But yeah, disappointing, but you know, we move on. I'm sure their next fights will be better, both guys. So
for Dominick, who won, I'd like to see him fight Khalil Roundtree Jr., who's coming.
Good luck with that one.
No, I know, but he's going to have a loss. But I feel like Roundtree Jr. is the kind of guy, like, you know, he doesn't have board fights, so he's going to be in your face. So I'd kind of like to see, like, and for a guy like Reyes, you know, beating a guy who had, you know, fought such a competitive fight at one time with the champ, this could be an opportunity for you. It probably would literally be a make or break fight for your career, honestly. So
right, yeah, you're not getting an opportunity to make another run after this, so you better keep winning. Yeah,
right. So.
Yeah, that's a good progression. It's a tough fight for him, I think.
Oh, I do too. I don't know. I don't think it necessarily works out well for him. But when I'm looking up the people, like, you're trying to move up and guys who are coming off losses and want to get back in there and you have a boring fight, well, that's a guy that he don't have boring fights usually. So it'd be interesting to see.
What about Paulo Costa, maybe?
We'll talk about him later. That's another guy.
That's
something else I was thinking about. Yes. But let's get to this next fight.
Yeah. Bro. All right. The heavyweight fight. What an impressive fight. Yeah. Curtis Blaydes versus Josh Hokit.
Yeah. Hokit, man. So all right. First off, get some props here too out of the way too. Double bonus for this guy. He got performance tonight and fight at night. Good for him. Now, last week, you had mentioned, I was talking about him being undefeated and stuff like that, and we need some heavyweight life. You mentioned you're not here for this guy, the cringiness and stuff like that. Now, I must have blocked out the last speech a little bit. I didn't remember all that stuff. And then we went into fight week this week, and I'm like, oh, man, like, this is really bad. And as a guy who watches pro wrestling, I'm not usually really nerved by that, but I'm like, this is another level of cringe. This is awful. Like he's doing, I think like Luke Thomas says, so he was doing like multiple different characters at different times, and none of them were like related to each other. It's like Shy Guy.
Mankind. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
None of this makes sense. It's just,
Brennan, believe it or not, I think Brennan Schaub described Hokit the best by saying that he's the Andy Kaufman of the UFC, because I think that encapsulates his shtick the most. Like he's just a weird ass dude that's just trying to be as weird as possible to get eyes on him.
Yeah, Luke Thomas too. Like, he said, honestly, he had the most eyes on him going into this card for whether it was bad or good, because he just tried. He just tried to get attention, and it worked for a negative. But as he said too, if you're going to fight like this, just so you know, you don't have to do that. That's for people who can't do what you just did.
Yeah, the Colby Covingtons of the world.
I talked about this last week too a little bit. I think that sometimes Curtis Blaydes gets a bad rep for being a boring fighter. This guy's hasn't finished, but holy crap, it takes two to tangle. And Curtis Blaydes brought it on the feet right back to the point that I thought Hokit won the fight, and I didn't hear any crying. But if you look at some of the stats, like Curtis was winning some of the shots. He was landing more shots a lot of times. So
yeah, I wouldn't have been upset with that if they had called it the other way, but I thought Josh.
The thing about Hokit, like, and again, you got to give the guys due, was like, okay, he had quick hands, right? And he was quicker than Curtis at least, and he was aggressive. He's constantly in your face. He caught Curtis, and then Curtis, to his credit, he weathers that storm, and then he starts unloading on Hokit, and Hokit, to his credit, great chin too. He's taking all these punches and everything like that. And it was a great back and forth fight at times. The defiance of Hokit, giving him the finger at different times. I wasn't even mad at, because it was done like in a defiant kind of way, almost like, hey, I'm here, I'm not going out. But great back and forth fight. And I'll quote Luke Thomas one more time. This might have been one of the best heavyweight fights of all time, next to Bigfoot and Mark Hunt. Yeah, not quite maybe as good in that one when, had to go 5 rounds, but this was like just right below that. So, it made the night, and this was the fight that I thought might have been like Reyes and Walker was, but not. Flip that. This was amazing.
Yeah, top 3 heavyweight fight of all time. Like you said, it's got, for me, I mean, the commentary team, obviously, they're in the moment and they're caught up and everything. They're saying it's the best heavyweight fight of all time. But no, for me, I'm with you. Got to be Bigfoot versus Mark Hunt. But I do believe that they broke the record for most strikes in a heavyweight fight. So heavyweight, we talk about how it's so bad, and it is so bad.
It is.
But the cardio that they put on, I mean, they were so tired, but they fought through it. So it was really, really impressive. I think, we talked about it being close. I think you have to give it to Josh based on the damage that he inflicted on Curtis. Broke Curtis's nose, fractured his orbital. Like you said, all the props in the world to Curtis. It was so obvious he did not want to lose to this guy. He fought as hard as he could, defended some takedowns, landing takedowns of his own. We've seen him do more striking than we've ever seen him do. But unfortunately, the shots he was landing on Josh was kind of like turning with them or whatever, although he did eat a lot of them. But he was too tired. He was not affecting Hokit as much. So you have to give it to him. I like his fighting style a lot more than his talking. But I gotta say, anyone with really good takedown defense, I mean, it has to be super high level. This guy's a Division I, All-American wrestler. Good takedown defense and some decent striking should KO him. He's small for the division. That gives him advantage with the hand speed and maybe cardio. But get blasted in the face by Derek Lewis, which we'll talk about. He's gonna put you out, man. Fight Tom Aspinall, he's going to put you out. Sergey Pavlovich, he's going to put you out. So I don't think we blast him right to a title shot or anything, but it was a very impressive win. So Black Beast, please do me this favor. We don't get political on the show. I'm not a big fan of President Trump being at these shows. I'm not even a fan of President Trump. I'll just say it. All right. So I don't really like him being at these shows. It takes away from me. But I have to mention him because he's one of the reasons why this next fight's going to happen. It looks like he asked Dana White, why is Derek Lewis not on the White House card?
And now we've made Derek Lewis versus Josh Hokit. But I like this fight. Even though Hokit, just beat Curtis Blaydes, he obviously skipped a huge line to get this opportunity. So I don't have a problem with him fighting back one more time. And I find it to be an intriguing fight because all the reasons you basically mentioned. Like, I do feel like, okay, Hokit is going to be the quicker athlete. He'll probably be able to take Derek down. Ultimately, yeah. But, oh man, I was impressed with his chin, but to get hit by Derek Lewis, you ain't gonna get hit by Derek Lewis that many times. I don't know. So I'm very interested. I'm not even saying I will root for Derek Lewis. I want Derek Lewis to win. But I'm almost just as intrigued. I want to see Derek crack this guy a couple times because if he's got a chin that he can take Derek Lewis punches, then this could be a total different game. We're looking at it. I don't see that. I've never seen that. My guess, like I said, he'll try to take him down. But I'm not mad that fight got added to the UFC White House card.
Me either. That is a very good test for him, obviously. The UFC would love for this guy to become champ with his skill set, and he's a character. Like Luke Thomas said, he was the black hole for media day. He sucked up all the media, which, the guy's trying to make money. There's not a number one, there's not a checklist of how you do this. You want to become a star. He's trying something that's different. It's not for me. I don't like it, but I can deal with it if he's going to keep fighting like that. That being said, I don't think he fights Derek Lewis anything like he fought Curtis Blaydes. He is not worried about Curtis's striking. He's going to be terrified of Derek Lewis's striking. But that being said, I'm with you. I do think he takes Derek down, although it might take him a few chances because Derek's a big boy. But when he does get him down, Derek, you look at Derek's last fight in particular, he doesn't want to work too hard for any of these fights anymore. He's making a lot of money on all these fights, and he's not trying to get back to a title shot necessarily or whatever. He's okay with taking a loss, he wants to put on a show, but if Hokit puts him down and gets on top of him and starts landing a few shots, Derek will turtle up and call it a night. So, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that Hokit takes him down and beats him, but he does need to avoid the ultimate puncher's chance with Derek Lewis for sure.
And I will say one more thing too. They've basically set it up where they're fighting on the White House cards, which coincidentally is co-main evented by the heavyweight title fight there between Cirogan and Alex Pereira. Is that interim heavyweight title fight or still?
Yeah, no, it's interim, yeah.
It is interim, right? So, but if Aspinall is not back, then you could literally do, if Pereira does beat Gon, that's the fight I'm sure they would want to make is Pereira and Hokit there. If he comes off, freaking red, white, and blue Uncle Sam outfit and it's a win. Derek Lewis with a TKO. But we'll see what happens. But
that is also good for that card. That fight is because an American's going to win. And, it is supposed to be Freedom 250, America's birthday thing. And there's not a lot of high chances for Americans to win on the rest of the card, unfortunately. So
no.
An American's going to win that one.
Yes. Good card. Good fight added, though. Yes.
Moving on. Azamat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa.
Shocked on this one. I always look at Costa as having kind of a puncher's chance, but I thought he just displayed a lot of good tools. Like early on, he was really good with his kicks, I felt like. And then Murzakanov, I thought, kind of rallied pretty good in round 2, but Costa weathered that and then made adjustments in round 3, with, his striking and everything. And then, he finished him off in round 3. And I just remember thinking afterwards, wow, maybe you should have just jumped to light heavyweight sooner because this was a great performance by Paulo Costa.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best he's looked since Izzy took his soul, basically, very impressive win, especially to get a finish over this guy. And he's going to be a problem at light heavyweight because this division's really soft. Like we said, maybe Dominick Reyes next for him. But yeah, this fight was great. Costa did slow down at one point where he got really tired like he did in that Luke Rockhold one, but he was able to come back and show a little bit more life, especially once he hurt Azamat with that head kick. Suddenly he was full of life. So Azamat, he was looking good in the beginning, really good movement, great kickboxing style, really good movement on the feet. But once he slowed down and got flat footed, he was just there for Paulo Costa to hit. And that's not where you want to be. So first loss, but Paulo's a deceptively very tough guy. So I think Azamat will be back, but I'm looking forward to light heavyweight Paulo Costa.
And you said Dominick Reyes. Yeah, and I'd mentioned Carrillo Altry Jr., Paulo Costa against either one of those guys would be a good fight. And also, this is one out of the box a little bit, but I wouldn't have a huge problem. Jiri Prochazka, as we're going to talk about next, is going to need another fight coming up. And, if you want to shoot Paulo Costa up there against one of the top contenders in the world, just because he has some names and he's coming off a big win over an undefeated guy, that's an interesting fight, given the way that Jiri is so unpredictable that it works out for him or against him. Although I think Yuri is going to be much more dialed in the future. We'll talk about that coming up. But I think
doesn't change his spot.
Yeah, right, true. But I think that could be a fun fight too.
RDR, I think, is coming up from middleweight as well. Could be a fun fight. Robert Whitaker's coming up from middleweight. So there's a few of these elite middleweights coming up to try their hand in the light heavyweight division. So a lot of going to bring some good blood to this one. So
I think so.
Yeah, let's move on. Main event here: Jiri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, this is MMA, right? This is the definition of anything could happen. Prochazka, we talked about it, his unpredictability factor, his awkwardness, getting hit a couple times, him coming back and then looking like he's really got Ulberg kind of on the ropes. And Ulberg, of course, is leg, knee kind of gives out on him at one point, and we're thinking that, like he's going to probably be done, and Prochazka looks like he's getting ready for the finish. But this is MMA, and boom, Carlos Ulberg connects, lays out Prochazka, and now we have a guy, and I don't think it's been updated yet as I'm just recording on his injury, but we have a guy with a potential torn ACL who's now
looks like that. Yeah,
it's crazy. That's absolutely insane. Like, I don't know what happens for the future, so it could be disappointing and it's kind of sad in some ways, but also what a moment in some other ways. Like, that's a story, you tell your grandkids about, like, holy crap.
Yeah. As far as like a story for the fight, like that's like that Pat Barry Chet Congo fight, where we all thought for sure Ulberg was done. His leg had given out multiple times. Jiri was kicking the shit out of his other leg, and then he catches him with that check hook and puts him out like cold, like sends him to the fucking land of ghosts and shadows. He was folded. But, an ACL tear is very hard to come back from, and you don't make your money as a fighter until you defend the belt, really.
Right.
So, it's great that he won the belt and he's champ, but it might not be life-changing for him. So I'm hoping he can come back. Great performance, to never give up. I mean, he wasn't even really like shying away from engaging Jiri or anything. Like, he wasn't like just trying to make it to the end of the round and then he was going to stay on the stool. It didn't seem like that to me. He always seemed like he was in there. I know Jiri blamed the loss on mercy, which, you could tell, everyone could tell that Carlos was hurt. And I do kind of feel like Jiri let off a little bit. Like he noticed, like, he did the point down thing and you could tell he was like kind of frustrated, but ultimately he was still hitting him. He was going in there. He was engaging. He was doing this stupid thing where he like ducks his head down and then up and then down. He's like trying to explode in to get the finish or whatever. That's stupid. Terrible fight IQ. This guy's not going to come out for a round two. Kick his leg if you want to engage him. Also, just back up and make him walk towards you. Right. Like, if he falls down, Herb or whoever the ref was could stop the fight. Be intelligent, and you could have been world champion. But no, go back to and I love Jiri, okay? This is just frustration, okay? Because he should be world champion right now, but instead he's going home to his wife giving birth to his new daughter or whatever with half a paycheck and no future towards another belt. Well, we'll talk about a possible interim belt. He could be champ before Carlos comes back, but yeah, because you want to be a warrior and sit in the woods and get bit by ants or whatever like that, instead of just being smart, you're in a sport, win.
Right. do it down.
knocked out.
Maybe nobody liked it, but at the end of the day, maybe you needed to do it at that particular point. You needed to do whatever it took within the realm of the rules to get the win.
Yeah, Dom wasn't winning a world title, so.
He was fighting his career. But if Carlos Ulberg does come back from this, if it's not a torn ACL and it's not as bad as we all expect for some reason, I mean, I think it's funny. I don't like none of the potential immediate matchups for him because it's guys that I consider talented, but not necessarily guys I would want to see as champion again. Like you're looking at Ankalaev would be absolutely, and then even Blachowicz is like right down in the rankings too.
Well, he's fighting Guskov or whatever again, who he just fought to a draw, I believe. So yeah, I don't know when that fight is. I think it might be May or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you're looking at Ankalaev, unless I think Pereira's probably done at light heavyweight at this point, is my guess, because I think he'll fight at heavyweight. And if he wins, he'll keep going. But if he loses and it's a good fight, he might keep going too. Like, I don't know if Pereira really wants to, I feel like
we'll see what his performance looks at heavyweight. If his performance is bad, you might see him back at light heavyweight. But I'm with you.
But I definitely feel like he's almost like he's done everything he can at like now he could have some exciting fights and stuff. But it's like, it's almost like why not just chase this other dream of yours?
Well, he hasn't fought Ulberg, so if Ulberg is the champ or whatever, and Alex wants to come back, he could, in theory, beat Ulberg, win the belt, and then retire. So.
It was a fun, amazing card, and Ulberg was the one who got the other performance of the night, which obviously, good for him. Holy crap, you're knocking people out with a torn ACL and winning a championship. So, but yeah, great UFC 327 card of the year, I guess, so far, even though we've had a couple good ones, but this has to be the best one so far.